Excited to get going this week with practice today. After looking at the film of Indiana the first couple days and their first couple games, they got a good team. A couple years into the system on defense, guys on that side flying around, and they're doing a good job with the new coordinator there on offense. So we know going on the road, first conference game in the Big Ten. Every time we play Indiana, it's a tough game. Those guys always come ready to play, and so we got our hands full early on. But looking forward to get going with practice today.
Open it up for questions. Third row, right, Dylan.
Benjamin Victor's had a really strong start to this season. What have you seen out of him as he's looks like he's starting to turn the corner a little bit?
Yeah, I think Ben is important for us as we go forward. That one drive, we threw a back shoulder fade to him, and that kind of got us going. He's the X receiver, and if he's in a one-on-one matchup and he can win that one-on-one matchup, then that changes schematically how teams are going to defend us. But he's got to be that guy. He's got to be the Terry McLaurin for us last year, the Paris Campbell and Johnny Dixon, those guys. And when he makes that big play, that got us going on that drive, and he's done that so far. So now that we get into conference play, he's going to have to continue that.
Third row, right, Rob.
You've been around the last 2 years. You were there for Iowa and Purdue. We've talked a lot about players and play calling. I'm curious about the psychological side, how you're adjusting to that. I mean, you played a near perfect game. I'm sure it wasn't, but how do you keep these guys from thinking it's gravy now?
Well, we talk about we want to be the best in the country, and the message to the team is that the issues are still in the film, whether you win, you lose, whatever it is. And the immature player or the immature coach looks at it and says everything's good, and we won, and we won, pretty handily. But the facts of the matter are that the issues are on film, and as the level of play increases through conference play, and as the season goes on, those issues aren't going to go away. So, the seasoned coach or the veteran player can identify that, be critical of themselves, and again, you've heard it before. If you're worried about the process as opposed to the result, then you're going to be more focused on that. And so, just keep hammering away. And as much as you say it, some of the younger guys don't quite get that. The older guys I think do, but we're just going to keep swinging as hard as we can to make sure they understand that's what it is.
Front row, right, Dave.
Brian, as you mentioned, Indiana has a new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator. I know their defensive coordinator was promoted from within, and it's still Tom Allen's defense. But have you seen any big differences from them compared to last year on either side of the ball?
No, they've they've kind of been running the same defense they've run in the past, and they have some guys in there. Obviously, Ball is really good in what he does. He does a lot of things for them, and their secondary is really, really strong. Some good, strong guys up front, and the linebackers played really hard the last couple of weeks. But yeah, they're running the same thing. They got the same system, but they got a lot in the system. They got a lot of different looks. They got a lot of different coverages, a lot of different pressures, and so as you get into year 2, year 3 into a system, you can start to get more intricate, and that's where they're at right now.
Master Teague, whatever was going on with him in camp with the injury, looks like he's running well. As you evaluate him, what are you seeing from Master Teague?
Again, he didn't practice all that much this preseason, so it was hard for him to get into a rhythm. He has run pretty hard on film the last 2 weeks, and if he can continue to practice the way that he has the last couple of weeks, then I think he's going to only improve as it goes on, and we'll feel more comfortable with him, handling more snaps in the game. But it's clear to see that once he gets some momentum going, he can run through contact, and so that's what we're looking for.
Over here to the right, Austin.
Ryan, after you had a chance to watch the film, where did you see the biggest improvement from Justin from week 1 to week 2?
I think he kind of picked up from where he left off. Still, made some good decisions. I thought he was, pretty good in the passing game. I still took a couple hits in there that didn't like. He's going to have to learn that way. A couple things in protection as well. Took one bad sack. But overall, I thought, it was a pretty clean game. And, it's the same thing. There's going to be things that show up. He got away with a couple throws that maybe as the competition increases, he won't. But overall, it was solid, and we got to keep building on it.
You take your, learning through failure approach with him. The big picture, he's been really successful. 9 touchdowns in a couple of games and all that yardage. How do you teach through the success or manage the expectations as they change and grow?
Yeah, I think that there's no rule book or way to handle that. I think you try to feel it as you go and use your experiences to best figure that out. And I think the good thing is he's had some success the first 2 games, so I think he's got some confidence, which is really important for a quarterback. especially going on the road in a conference game, there's got to be confidence there, and he should have confidence. He's played well the first 2 games. And so, we'll keep building it as we go. But the idea, and I think Mike Yursich has done an excellent job. Mike has really done a really good job of, putting the game plan together in terms of making it clean, clear, and concise so that Justin can play the way he is on Saturdays. And, Mike's had a great history of quarterbacks. He understands how to prepare a quarterback. And to see the way he's worked with Justin here so far is remarkable.
Going on the road for the first time for him as a starter, what's that like? How does it change things for him?
Well, when you go on the road, it's different because you're just not in your normal routine. First off, the noise will be an issue on third down, things like that, and you can't ride the emotional roller coaster. You have to play each play as it goes, but it's different. You got to travel there, you got to stay in the hotel, you're kind of out of your routine, out of your rhythm, and so with that, you have to make sure that as a team we know how to run the ball, take care of the football. We have to stop the run. And then we got to play with toughness, and then that's how you win on the road.
Second row left, Bill.
Ryan, I think you mentioned this after the game, and it does seem apparent from watching the first 2 that maybe you're not doing as much of the crossers in the passing game as you did last year and maybe even 2 years ago. Is that just a product of your personnel, how teams are defending you, wanting to try new stuff? Just shed some light on maybe why that's not as much of a focus as it was last year.
Yeah, like I said, we have our whole offense in now. What we focus on and what we decide to give Justin is based on a game plan deal, but it's also based on the fact that he's only played 2 games, and that's we have buckets of plays, and one of them is what you're talking about, and we have all those, we have them all, and when its time is right, we'll use them, but that hasn't been the right game plan that we think in those first couple games, and so. We'll continue to, install those things as the time is right and we feel like the scheme fits. We have been seeing a lot more zone recently, and so we'll just keep rolling from there.
And I know guys like Paris and Terry have elite level speed, and obviously you guys have a fast team here, but what your catch and run ability compared to last year, how different is it?
It's hard to tell right now. I'm kind of interested to find out as well as we get going. We've got guys open so far. Guys have been open, and as the the level of competition increases, those windows are going to get tight for just. The coverage is going to get tighter for the receivers, and so then we're going to have to be able to make those throws and catches with tight coverage, and then also, like you're saying, create yards after catch. And I still don't think we know the answer to that yet because we missed 2 guys and Johnny too. All 3 of those guys were excellent at yards after the catch. So. But that's a challenge for our guys on the outside and making sure that we can do that because that was a lot of yardage last year.
Right next door, Ari.
Ryan, Jeff Okudah seems to be playing with, I don't know, just a different chip on his shoulder maybe than we've seen in the past. Has he transformed just what you've seen in the building as a leader for this team? And is he just carrying himself like one of the captains and one of the main core players on this team in defense?
Yeah, I think that he's playing like a pro. He's approaching it that way. You can see that he's playing decisive when he's on the field. I think that's also a guy who's going from his second year to his third year, and he's got some experience now. He knows what to expect, and he'll still tell you he's a long way away from being a finished product. But I think he's listening to Jeff in terms of the technique that he's trying to teach. I think he understands the scheme, and again, year 3 into the program, he's killing it. I mean. We're in the second half, and it's a pooch punt, and he jumps in there and runs down on a gunner and almost gets the thing on the 1-yard line. That's just goes to show you what kind of kid Jeff is. And again, he's got to keep building as the competition increases, but he's off to a really good start.
And one other non-related question. Jalen Harris got in really early in the game. We weren't sure if he was going to be in the rotation at all this year. What have you seen from him, and why was he on the field so soon?
Yeah, Jalen has done a good job on special teams. Anytime you do a good job on special teams, you deserve to play. And so now he's into his third year, and he's a guy that has a lot of ability as well, and we've seen him flash at times. So now he's got to go prove it in the game. He's got to be consistent, but he provides us some depth, and you'll see him in the game moving forward.
Front row right, Bill.
Yeah, Austin Mack's had kind of an up-and-down career, but he's been a reliable guy a lot of times. How would you kind of assess his career here so far?
Well, the injury last year made it hard, and he's made some big catches for us. And he's a guy that we have to count on, especially on third down, to be that big, strong receiver that we can rely on. And he's been around for a while. He's veteran. He knows what it looks like. He's got good size, and so now it's just a matter of production for Austin. And so far he's done a pretty good job in these first couple games. He had that hamstring in the preseason, so he wasn't able to kind of be a finished product going into the season. But he's getting better. His legs getting stronger, and we're going to need him big time when we get into the conference play here.
And he has talked about leaving a legacy that's bigger than football, with some of the stuff off the field. How important is that, and how much do you encourage that kind of thing?
Yeah, no, obviously leaving a legacy is critical. When you're all done here, what do you want people to think of you or say about you, or what do you leave? And I think about that all the time as a coach, and so we all want to do that, and we all do that different ways. And certainly the way you go about your business and the way people think of you and the way you handle yourself is really important. And you always want to be first class, and the impact you have on people matters. And so. I know Austin's a very thoughtful young man, and he thinks about all those things, and he wants to do that as well. And I think his focus right now is on football and being productive this season, but I know he's got a lot on his plate as well.
Right next door, Kevin.
Yeah, Ryan, when your number one running back goes in and throws a block like J.K. did on that one touchdown Saturday, what does that say from a leadership standpoint, or as far as he is concerned and the attitude he's got? And then number two, how would you analyze how he played from 1 week to the next?
Yeah, I thought the first game was, like I said earlier, was a little funky, in terms of the fits weren't great. But talking about the second game, I thought he ran hard with his pads down. I thought the line did a good job blocking for him. But he had a good edge to him. He played tough. He really did. That was one pickup. The other one was we had kind of mis-ID'd how we were blocking one of the protections, and he had to block a defensive end, run right through the A-gap, and he stuck his nose right in there and blocked him. And that's a tribute to J.K. and Tony Alford. And, protection is just as important as anything else. So that was really good, especially coming off of last week when we missed one of those. So, a big improvement. I would say that was a significant improvement from week 1 to week 2, and now we just keep going.
And one other quick thing, I would think you at least stole a glance at the game on Saturday night, LSU at Texas. What's just your take on Joe Burrow, how far he's come, and et cetera?
I watched the whole thing, and I couldn't be any prouder of a guy than Joe. The way he competed out there, the way he threw, he's come a long way since his freshman year. I wasn't here when he first got here, but spent a couple years with him, and seeing mom and dad in the stands and seeing him go about beating a good Texas team on the road like that. Couldn't be happier for him, and he's playing at a high level. Give him credit. I mean, he was throwing the ball, and he looked like an NFL quarterback out there. Really proud of him.
Front row, middle, Joey.
Indiana's got a new quarterback, redshirt freshman. What's stood out to you about him on film?
Yeah, he's very talented. We recruited him. He's out of Tampa, and very mobile, and very productive coming out of high school. And I'm not surprised that he's playing right away there. He's a really smart kid. Understands the game. When in my conversations with him in recruiting, he was really a good football IQ. And again, was very productive in high school, and so now he's stepping in as a youngster and had a good first couple games. So I think he's going to have a really good career, and he's very talented and very versatile.
Is there something that he does particularly skill set wise that could be an issue, or is it
No. I mean, I think that's still yet to be seen as the season goes on. But he's mobile. He can run. He's accurate throwing the ball. He's pretty decisive throwing the ball, and he's smart. So. It's still early in his career, but he's talented.
Front row left, Doug.
I can't remember the stuff we've talked about in the past, so I apologize if you've covered this. But a couple times with the defense, you've said when you hired this staff, you had some things that you talked to them. You said were non-negotiable, like we've got to do, and then you sort of let them do their thing. What was that stuff?
Well, I mean, the first thing was stopping the run, and I mean, I know that sounds like no kidding, but that was a huge emphasis, and that. We were really sound in our fits in the run game, that we were going to play with a ridiculous amount of energy, and that it wasn't going to come down to scheme. At the end, it was going to come down to toughness, effort, tackling, run to the ball. And then, there was a few things in terms of a 4-down front that was a non-negotiable because Larry's done such a great job and the staff had done such a great job of recruiting all these defensive linemen that, we weren't really interested in a 2-gapping system. We wanted 4-down linemen who were going to go after the passer. So that was kind of it. And then those guys got in a room, and we're on that journey now.
So, with what you've seen through 2 games, and it's what we talked about all offseason, just sort of letting these guys play. I know, once you get here, recruiting rankings don't matter and that kind of thing, but just are you seeing some of the natural skill that these guys have coming out in the way you want it to? Because you do have some really talented guys on this defense.
Yeah. I think we're right now we're seeing the best version of these guys. I think again it's only 2 games and we haven't had a conference game yet, but I think you're seeing some guys come out of their shell a little bit. You're seeing Malik Harrison show up, and he's had some really tough clips of film. Taking on linemen or taking on I think it was an insert by a tight end. He knocked them down, and some Pete Werner and guys running the ball and tackling and being physical, and that's really important. Even in the game the other day, the quarterback escapes and he gets like a gain of 8, but he got whacked. And he got tackled, and there was like 6 guys running to the ball, and then when Sean Wade comes off the edge and causes that fumble, there was like 6 guys right there, and somehow we didn't get it. I don't know how we didn't get it, but we were there. And if we keep playing like that and keep playing with that kind of pursuit and that kind of toughness, we're going to get more and more turnovers. And I think they believe in it and they feel it right now.
And that reminds me, Sean Wade, just like he made a couple pops on some guys. Like, what do you think of what you've seen so far?
Very, very talented, extremely talented. He can do a lot of things. He can play outside. He can play inside. He can blitz. Helps us on special teams. Very, very talented. And I think he's going to have a great year.
Second row right, Tony?
You may have just answered this question. What's your favorite aspect of this defense?
Well, I think I said it early on. I think that anytime you've been through some stuff, you've been scarred, and I like that. I like that kind of group, and they have. They had to sit around last year and listen about how they went through some tough times, and they weren't happy about that. They're a very prideful group, and so they were kind of just working and not talking much about it and trying to be quiet about it, but at the same time they were angry. And they feel like they have something to prove. They have a chip on their shoulder. And, boy, I love being around guys like that.
And then you guys have fielded 3 punts inside the opponent's 10-yard line this season. You've scored touchdowns on each of those ensuing possessions. Forced a 3 and out. Is that as close to a turnover as you can get as a coach? How do you view those?
Yeah, so we have something we call the plan to win. And in the plan to win, one of the things we talk about is that when the offense gets the ball on the 25-yard line after a touchback or a kickoff return, our number one job is to get the ball to midfield. Now, obviously, we want to score, but it doesn't always work that way. But we got to get at least 2 first downs. If we get 2 first downs, we feel like we're jogging the best punter in America out there, and he's really good at spinning him inside the 10. If we get him inside the 10, we put the best defense in America out there, looking to get either a 3 and out or get them off the field before they get past the 20. At that point, we send the punt block or punt return team out and get the ball around midfield, and now it's the offense's turn to go score. And that's what you're talking about. And that literally is the plan to win. We talk about it before every game. We talked about it while it was going on in the game on the sidelines, and then we talked about it in the team meeting, showing the guys the clips, because that is the whole field position game. And when you start with the ball inside your 10-yard line, statistics show it was less than a 10% chance of scoring a touchdown. If you get the ball at midfield, it goes through the roof. And so guys understand that here, and that's part of our plan to win.
6th row right, Blake?
When Justin won the job, he mentioned that his gauge on his success would come from anticipating in this offense. Now that this quote-unquote preseason phase is over and you're entering conference play, how do you assess his progress with that?
Yeah, I think that's for everybody, and I think that's the key to really good play at the highest level of football is when you can anticipate what the defender is going to do or the offensive guy is going to do as opposed to react. That's when you become a great player. When you watch the best in the business, the Drew Breeses and the Tom Bradys and those type of quarterbacks, they already know what you're doing before you do it, and that's when you got them. And Justin's very talented, but that's the goal. We want to get to the point where he knows exactly what's going on before the play, and then it's just a matter of executing the play. He's a lot of talented quarterbacks out there who can get away with reacting. But we want to get it to the point where he knows what's going on before the snap happens. But again, that's at every position. That's DB, linebacker, offensive line, and that's why we spend so much time preparing. There's a physical preparation, but there's also a mental preparation, and we got to keep pushing on that. The coaches got to keep pushing on that because that will make a difference in the end.
Far left, Corey?
Coach, how much of your offensive play calling are you pre-scripting, and when you do that, what is your priority there? Is it try to probe the weaknesses of the defense? Is it to get the ball in certain players' hands? How much are you scripting, and what are the priorities when you do it?
Well, we put the game plan together, and that's all the scripted, by formation and then situation. But we have our openers that we start with, usually about 10 to 15. But I don't like to get too stuck on that. We don't like to get too stuck on that because things change really fast. Either the looks you're going to get in college football just changed. Teams can go from showing one defense and all of a sudden they're in a completely different one. Or like last week, they were blitzing every snap. We knew after the second snap, it's all blitz. So now you need to quickly adjust and don't just stay fixed on the openers. And then you got to be able to adjust on the road, but on the roll. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And we try to do all the above. We try to get some guys some touches. We try to make sure we get the quarterback in a rhythm. We try to make sure we're moving the ball down the field. All those type of things as we get going. And then also, get a feel for what they're doing formationally, because most teams will have certain tendencies based on formation.
Griffin always said that the most important thing to him was to get his playmakers the ball. Is that also your number one priority as an offensive play caller?
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. Obviously, you want to get those guys the ball, but there's a lot that goes into that, and you want to get the ball in their hands, but then sometimes it's man-to-man. Sometimes, your playmaker may be in a situation where there's a blitz and you can't protect there, so yeah, for sure. The number one goal is to get your playmakers the ball in space, number one thing. But there's a lot that goes into that, and so that's the goal, and that's what we try to figure out as the game goes on.
Front row left, Nathan.
Yeah, this kind of plays off the question I think you just got about Justin, but you asked a lot of asked about a lot of questions about his decisions in the passing game. What did you see as far as the progression in how he handled the run game week to week, either recognizing fronts or how he read the zones and made those handoffs?
Okay. I think he was good. He can be better. There's still some I think he wish he had back, but for the most part, I think he's got a good handle on checking the runs and who he's reading. In terms of his eyes are in the right place. But every time he plays, he's going to get better and better at that.
And you mentioned before there was an opportunity for Master Teague to get more snaps, but just I guess in general as a head coach and as an offensive play caller, how do you want that balance to be? I mean, do you like having that sort of bell cow running back? Is there sort of a ceiling for how many snaps or touches another running back could get in?
No, I think that J.K. is our number one back. Last year it was kind of a split deal with Mike, but now it's it's J.K. and then those guys are going to support him. But again, we usually have between 75 and 80 something snaps, so it has to get spread around a little bit. And based on how the game's going, there may be a long drive of 10 plays where we got to roll. Then there's times where we can get in a rhythm and go 4 or 5 plays and score. Another 4 or 5 play drive where he can keep going. So sometimes it just depends on how the game's being played out. But we want those guys to provide some depth, and they're going to have to play for us.
Got time for a couple more questions. Second row middle, Bruce.
Probably two of Troy Smith's most famous plays here were plays where he scrambled away from pressure against Penn State in 06, against Michigan in 05. You made the comment earlier about Justin and you'd like for him to a bad sack, like you said. How do you know when it's the right time and when it's not the right time?
Yeah, you don't. You try to give him certain parameters, and you got to let him play, and then he watches it and learns. And the guys on the perimeter got to do a better job too of staying with him in a scramble. The play's never over with Justin, so the ball came out with a little bit more rhythm last year with Dwayne. It was kind of 3 and a hitch. The ball came out, 2 hitches to check it down, and we were on to the next play. Well, here those guys got to stay alive, and I think we're getting a feel for it. Certainly we don't want to throw the ball down the field late in the middle of the field. And we got to be smart with that. So again, can you really control all of it? No, you can't. You got to kind of let it go, but give them certain parameters and then trust them.
Every week in college, there's an outcome that blows people's minds because it's a team that shouldn't compete on paper that does. Army almost did with Michigan, Georgia State did with Tennessee. Some people would equate Purdue and Iowa losses the last few years to that kind of a situation where they might have not had a guy you even offered. IU may be that team this year. I'm sure you guys have done self-evaluation of that. In those situations, what's the anatomy of how that happens, and how do you keep it from happening?
Well, I think there's a lot to go. I mean, if there was an easy answer to that, it wouldn't happen. There's a lot that goes into that, and it's something that we're obviously aware of, and we talk about all the time. And the mentality that we have is that if you're the champ and you're the boxer, they're going to kind of try to knock you out every time you go in the ring, and we're going to get everybody's best shot. We know that, so don't be surprised. And we have to bring it every single week. And the only way to do that is to make sure that you're preparing this week just like you did last week, and then find a chance to be a little bit better. And if we ever take the shortcut on something or don't do it the way we did it the week before, then we set ourselves up. And that's physically, emotionally, and mentally. So physically, we have to be ready to go. We have to have energy. We have to get rest. We have to recover. Emotionally, preparing for the game. And then mentally, making sure we know what we're doing. We have good scheme, through the coaching staff, and then the guys can execute it when they get on the field. And if we do that and then follow the plan to win, then we'll be fine. But anytime if something like that doesn't happen, then you set yourself up and you get exposed.
We're here to the right. Clay?
Over the years,
Final questions.
this game in Bloomington has felt like a home game for Ohio State. Coach Coop, I think, clinched a Rose Bowl berth there, and the party went on for days or whatever. I mean, is the road, or when you get to a place like this, when you've got as many fans as they have, how big an impact does that make?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go on the road, like you said, it is the road, and especially the conference game, it's hard, but it is amazing no matter where we go, whether it's Dallas when we were at the Cotton Bowl, or even we played TCU last year, or we played out at the Rose Bowl, or any of those games. Buckeye Nation's traveled, and to feel their support on a road game is unbelievable. I remember before that TCU game, Joe was on the big screen, and LSU came back and beat somebody. I forget who it was, and the whole place was going crazy. That was all Buckeye people. I thought that was really cool. We came out of the tunnel, and you could hear all the Buckeye Nation screaming and yelling as we came out of the tunnel. That's special, and so we know everywhere we go, we're gonna get some support, and boy, it means a lot when we go on the road.
Coach, thank you very much. All right, folks, that'll be the only part of this press conference that's transcribed. ASAP, that will be the only part of this press conference that's transcribed. We're going to bring Coach Tony Alford down now for a few minutes. We're going to open up questions for Coach Alford. Front row right, Austin.
Tony, a big part of Zeke's success was the all-around game, the willingness to block when he didn't have the ball in his hands, and J.K. showed some of that with that block for Fields on a touchdown. How close is he in that all-around game to the best you've had?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, he's still got some work to do, obviously, as we all do. But it was good. It was good to see him go out and do that. One of the things we talk about is trying to be a complete player all the time, and that's part of it. And being a selfless player, and got to do your job just like everybody else does. And that was his job on that particular play. Can he still get better? Absolutely. In our pass pro and things like that. So yeah, but he's doing a nice job.
When you are evaluating and grading that performance, does the block carry more weight than the 60-yard touchdown, or which one?
Oh, to me it does. I mean, that 60-yard run, no one touched him either. And so, which is a tribute to the offensive line and them doing their jobs. And it was good to have plays like that, big plays of that nature where he could outrun some guys. But the blocking, that's something that's not a natural act. So that's something you have to want to go do. And again, being a selfless player.
Right next door, Tim.
Yeah, Tony, you remember 2 years ago when J.K. revealed the jump cut, et cetera, at Indiana. How nervous were you going into that game, knowing you had a freshman who's probably going to have to carry the mail? And just what did you see from him? And do you see sparks of maybe that coming back now?
Well, I don't know. I would, as you look back a year ago, again, you didn't know what you're going to get. Now, when I say you didn't know what you're going to get game time. But he had shown a lot of things during the course of training camp that allowed us to have a pretty good idea of what we were going to get, and he did. Knock on wood, and we go back. He had a record day for himself that day, and as we moved into it. But now is he back to that? That's debatable. I mean, game time situations all change. He's a different player than he was then, than he is now, obviously. But he's coming along well.
Master Teague Saturday was planting his foot and going
Right.
on cut. What are you seeing out of him that's encouraging to you?
Well, he runs really hard, Tim. He does a great job. The kid is a powerful kid. He can run. He's big and strong. He attacks defenders when he makes a decision. I think we're becoming more and more comfortable every single day with him. We missed a lot of training camp, and so so the evaluation process is still ongoing. But what he's doing right now, he's earning himself more playing time.
Front row middle, Dave.
I know you love it when we ask you about running back recruiting, so I'm going to ask you about
course
running
you
back
are,
recruiting.
Dave.
I know you can't talk specifics, but are you feeling optimistic? Just what can you say about running back recruiting?
Okay, so the last time I said we were fine, I about got in trouble. So I'm going to say we're fine. We'll be okay. How's that?
You're going to get in trouble again. You said you're fine.
That's okay. I'll handle it.
Third row right, Rob.
You're coming off to the outside world, looks like a flawless game, but you've been here long enough to see shocking outcomes, Purdue, Iowa. You've got Indiana coming up. What did you learn from those two games, and how do you go into a game like this after a near flawless performance and make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, first of all, to your first point, it wasn't flawless. Far from flawless. We're not where we need to be. You know, if we want to be the best in the country, you don't rest on your laurels, if you will, and you find the things that you need to be better at. As a coach, as a player, we identify those things and we go right back to work. And again, you use the word flawless. Did we play well? We did. We did in all facets of our game. So the key is to come back and figure out how to enhance what we did on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday moving forward, and for everybody in the program to identify where we can get better. We're going to play a team that has played us extremely well, you know, in previous years. They're a hungry team. They're a good football team. They've got some good players, very well coached. We show that on film, and our guys are going to have a great week of practice and continue to prepare to get better.
What do you think happened those past 2 years that didn't work out?
What happened that it didn't work? We didn't win. So I don't know. I don't want to go backwards on it. You know, it is what it is, and there's a multitude of things that we could have done better. You know, looking backwards. But as we move forward, like I said, we just got to continue to get better and identify the things where we can improve and make sure that we're doing that.
Front row middle, Joey.
Is JK's blocking more important this year because you have a quarterback who's going to be on the move more, or is it just?
Well, I think I won't say if it's more important. You know, we have a quarterback now that can extend plays. You know, and I heard Coach, you know, before I came in here, he was discussing now. And Dwayne, it was, you know, 3 steps, the ball was out. Get a hitch, the ball's out. So a lot of things are coming out on time. Right now, you have a guy that can extend plays. So it's very critical that we hold up in the blocking game, in our pass protection schemes. You know, I'm not happy at all. We've given up, the backs at least have given up 2 big hits on the quarterback in the past 2 weeks, which we've got to get corrected. That's one of the things we're going to work on this week is just sustaining blocks for longer. When we're in to help in certain situations and help wherever it may be in a certain gap, or that we hold up better longer. But yeah, it's very critical. And again, it goes back to being a complete player, just how critical it is that you do your job in protection.
Second row left, Ari.
Tony, I don't mean to be annoying about the recruiting stuff. I was just wondering, this is the first time that you've been in this position, you know, at Ohio State, and I probably ever, in terms of just needing somebody this late in the process. How do you approach it? Is it difficult? Is it stressful? Do you change anything when you're out there recruiting to try to get a guy when, you know, that's the latest and maybe the last essential need for the 2020 class?
You know, how do I approach it differently? I mean, I don't think I approach it any differently. You know, you go after recruit the guys that you feel fit your program, the guys that you feel can fit your room, and then you go after them with all you got. And so no, that hasn't changed. There's clearly a battery of guys that we're going after. I'm going after, and we'll see how it goes.
I think a lot of people view and think about recruiting from the kids' side, like where do they go? But you also create relationships too with these guys, and you know, when you get really close with people, especially ones that live far away, and you put your heart and soul into it, is it tough as a coach? Does it hurt sometimes when you miss out on some of the guys that you've wanted, just from a personal standpoint?
Well, if you're competitive at all, I think it hurts when you don't win. And recruiting is just like the game, right? And if you lose, it bothers you. And if it doesn't, then if losing doesn't bother you, then I think that you're probably in the wrong profession. And I don't care if that's business or anything else. I don't like to lose. So, but does it bother me? Hell yeah, it bothers me. But at the same time, you pick up and you go again. and you identify where you could have been better, and you make the necessary changes, and you go do what you got to go do.
Time for two more questions, or two more individuals. Front row right, Bill?
Tony, what are your impressions of the freshman running back Steele and Marcus?
Yeah, I think they're going to be real good players here. They're hungry to learn. They're getting better. You know, it's amazing that we're almost to the quarter point of the season, but they're getting better and learning what college football is all about, and just the attention to detail that's necessary every single day, and not for certain spurts within the day, but all day. And it's the attention to detail that's necessary, and how important it is to take care of your body, to study the game away from the field. So, but I'm very pleased. I think they're both going to be really good players for us here at Ohio State in the years to come, and we're just going to continue to work and get better.
DeMario obviously has made an impact at times.
Yes,
What
sir.
is his role? I mean, obviously you've got J.K. and you've got Master now. What's DeMario's role going to be? Is he going to?
Well, DeMario is a guy that I think we've all talked about it in previous conversations. Has the ability to be a matchup problem in a lot of ways, and so we have to find where those matchup issues are and can be, and then obviously go to work on those and put him in situations that are conducive, not just for him but for us as well. And so we're continuing to do that, and he continues to work. And everybody wants to know who's the number 2 back and this, that, and the other. It's really everything is kind of situational, much like the game of football. It's very situational and dependent upon what you're trying to get done.
Fourth row left, Andy?
Yeah, Coach, as Master Teague earns more playing time, you mentioned situational playing him. Are there situations that will call more for his style of running, as opposed to a Dobbins or a McCall, or is it more just him spelling when Dobbins needs a rest?
Well, if I tell you what those situations are, that gives away the game plan, right? So, like I said, it's all situational, depending upon what we're trying to get done at that particular time, and game situations, as I said. So, I don't know if I could really directly answer. That's just kind of dependent upon what's going on at that time and where we feel is best needed.
I do have one more question. Front row left, Nate?
You mentioned before that J.K. is a different runner now than he was as a freshman. That might seem obvious, but just how is he different?
Well, I think one of the things that happened, I'll go back a week, is I think he was trying to hit, even a year, he's trying to make all these big hits all the time versus just take the game as it comes, read your proper keys and don't get off script, if you will. I think that right now he's finishing runs better than he had, especially when he was younger. He's stronger as far as his physical stature. So I think he's finishing runs better. Obviously, I think he blocks better now than he did then. So he's a little bit different. Obviously, his maturation in the locker room and in the meeting rooms. So I think that's all changed, and his understanding of the game and the concepts and the things that we're doing has changed and gotten better and is enhanced as it should. So when I say he's changed, he's a different player. There's a lot of that, the mental aspect of it as well. So he's coming along. Is he a finished product? Absolutely not. He's got to get a lot better. He had a decent week, and I think he would attest to that too. There's some things that he could have definitely improved on and continue to run and finish runs and yards after contact. So there's some blocking things that we still can improve on, and we will improve on. So he's a real hungry kid and wants to do well, and so that's what we're working for and working towards.
Great, Coach. Thank you very much.
Tony doesn't follow.
Jerry says I don't care. So.
I'm just curious about this. JK's freshman year, he worked with JT, and we know how well JT ran the read game.
Right.
How much do you think did that help JK have a good year as a freshman when he was working with the quarterback who did that so well?
Yeah, I think that was attributed to some of his successes as well. I think that helped. That helped a little bit, and we were a little more zone read than we are even now. But so did that help some? Yeah, I'd probably subscribe to that line of thinking.
And can Justin and JK get anywhere close to
We hope so.
JT?
We hope so, and offense is a little bit different than what it was, and I get what was that 17? Yeah, the offense is a little bit different. So different aspects of it, and there's some things that are similar, but many things that are different. So to say it's going to be the same, I think that'd be an unfair assessment for anybody in the program to say. And right now, the biggest thing is just for our kids to continue to improve every single day, and not look too far forward. Don't look backwards. We're playing Indiana. Like I said, a very good football team, well-coached football team. It's a conference game, and all focus needs to be strictly on that.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
We'll have Coach Madison up here shortly.
Hey, did Coach Day drink from this? Did you notice? I think he did. Dang. I wanted to drink it. What's in there? Some kind of bubbly. Yeah, that's true.
Coach Madison's wife makes awesome chocolate chip cookies. I don't know. There was a bag of chocolate chip cookies in there, and I asked him for one. Really? They had texture and flavor, chocolate. Just right. Yes, it was just perfect. Okay, we're going to open up the floor for Coach Madison.
Hello, everybody. All right.
Front row left, Mitch from the Associated Press.
Hey, Greg, there are a number of elite defensive linemen in the Big Ten and around the country this year. You have one of them. Is it getting harder to recruit them? Is it getting harder to find and recruit them and get them to that level than it has before?
Well, I don't know if it's harder to find them. I think you can find some outstanding athletes. It's what happens when they get here, and I think that's what you see is a real tribute to Coach Johnson. I mean, a lot of players are pretty darn good coming out of high school. It's what are they when they're sophomore and junior year and senior year, and how much development is. It's not about really finding players. That's given. It's what you do with them when you get them, and I think that's a real credit to Coach Johnson what he's done with these guys.
Second row right, Tony.
Greg, what goes through your mind when you see Drew Crispin punting from the 50 and the ball gets down to the 4, and now you get to go out there and send your guys out there?
I think I'm at a great place. That's what I think. When I see that, I go, boy, it's an awesome thing to see that ball stop right there, and you have a chance to go on a long field. And in our special teams, that's a real credit. I mean, I tell you what, when you're able to coach on a defensive staff and have 3 equal parts. I mean, when you have an offense and then you have a special teams, it makes it a pretty good day.
Third row left, Dan.
Greg, the bullet positions talked about a lot this offseason. 2 games in, it seems like Brendan's role was a little different this week than it was the week before. How do you feel like that position's evolving so far?
Well, I think it's evolving very well, and Brendan had a good week last week of practice, and did some very good things in the game. And you know, a lot of the teams we've played against have been in some 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, and you know, and then when teams start spreading out and start, you know, getting a little looser that way, we like to go with a bullet position more. So, and a lot of it again is development. You know, I mean, as that's a new position for him. And you know, the more every rep he gets, the more he plays it, the better we are, and it's been good.
Explain that to him that, hey, there's going to be more opportunities for you to play later in the season based on game plan?
No, he's played a lot of football. He understands that. You know, I don't have to. You know, you have to tell that to him. I mean, he sees it. He knows. You know, he knows. We trust. He trusts the system. He trusts what we do, and he knows that that's a great opportunity for him.
Greg, how much fun is it to coordinate a defense when you have Chase Young out there doing what he's doing so far?
It's really great. I mean, and not just Chase. You know, I mean, Chase has done some great things, but man, I tell you, you see from the back end. I mean, the guys, some of the things that they've done. I mean, I won't signal out anybody, but I mean, just think about that interception. I mean, that's a great play by Sean Wade. You know, I mean, and you can go on, and you know, and yeah, Chase, yes, that's fun. But it's fun looking up and down the line. It's fun looking at the backers and how much they've improved, and we just touched it. You know, I mean, we all believe, our players believe that we can improve more and more every single time, and that's what we have to do to get where we want to get.
It seems like there are times where Chase is getting 1 or 2 or 3 blockers, and then you guys drop him out. And that seems like it creates a lot of other havoc. It seems like you just get creative with the way you use him. Is that fair?
Well, I think when you have 4, the thing that you get creative on is when you have 4 guys that can rush, go ahead and pick your poison. You know, you want to double this guy, then these other 3 are one-on-one. And that's what our D-line is really they're proud of that. And that's what that really helps us.
You walked into a situation with a defense that Ryan Day said was scarred. You've been with them now 9 months or so. Are you at all surprised by the way that they've started the season, as dominating as it's been, or did you see that pretty much from the start?
Well, first thing, I don't really even know what happened before. I don't care. I didn't care, you know. What I did see when I walked in the very first day is I saw a group of guys that worked unbelievably hard every single day in that weight room, and every day in the spring and every meeting in camp. You saw a group of defensive guys that loved each other, that wanted to become as good as they could be, that respected each other, and know that they've just scratched it right now. You know, and so, you know, I don't know what it was before. It doesn't matter. I know what I see every day I come in that meeting, and every day we have a chance to be with them. You're really proud, and you're excited for them.
And you said you can get better, you must get better. In what areas does that have to happen? What has to improve?
Well, every player can get better on his technique. I mean, there's not many games where a young man goes through that with 100% pluses, you know, and if you want to be as good as you can be, then every day you evaluate yourself and you get better every day, you know, and there are all kinds of different techniques that in phases, but every one of our guys know they can get better.
Third row right, Rob. Greg, you've been at this level, you've been in NFL. What poses a bigger problem? The guy that can stay in the pocket and pick you apart, or the kind of the dual threat guy at this level?
The dual threat guy at this level by far. And you know, when a guy stays in the pocket, you just need to look in Coach Hafley's room and say, okay, I hope I have a really good secondary. And then you look in Larry's room and you say, I hope I have a really good front so I can get a pass rush. But when you have a guy that can scramble, can make things happen with his feet as well as throwing, it really makes it more difficult for you.
Changing the NFL, because the great ones, the Bradys, the Peyton Mannings, they are not dual threat guys. How does that differ?
I think the biggest reason is because they're getting paid a lot of money, and for one of those guys to get hit and get knocked out, their whole franchise, And I believe that if you're going to be a mobile quarterback, and if you're going to be one of those quarterbacks that does that, there's the time clock is ticking a little bit too sometimes, and so I think that's why in the NFL.
Fourth row left. Andy?
Yeah, Coach. Michael Warren entered last Saturday. He had 1,300 yards in the previous season, rushed for 15 yards on 10 carries. I guess if you could point to the biggest thing, obviously there's a lot of factors that go into defending the run, but what's the biggest thing that this defense is doing right now to stop running backs like that?
Well, I think we're playing. I don't know if there's one single thing. I think we're playing. We're taking great pride in their technique, and they're playing very, very hard. I think I might have mentioned this the first time. One of the biggest things in our defense is running to the football. And when you run to the football and you play with great effort, the thing that you find out happens is your missed tackles slowly start going down, and your big plays really go down. And that's a huge, huge part of our defense, and our guys have bought into that. And if you saw, a great example is the interception again by Tuff. I mean, if you watch that, that's almost in the fourth quarter of a long game, and you got almost every player on the team, on the defense, running as hard as they can to that football. That's what we want, and that's what we're proud of.
Greg, when you look at Indiana this year compared to the last several years, what do you see that's different about them offensively?
Well, I think they're a very, very good football team. And over the years going against them, Indiana always is very well coached. They play extremely hard. They're going to be a very big test. And, the thing that they do a great job of is, again, they got a mobile quarterback, and they're not afraid to spread it out so that you have a number of people that have to do their technique, not just one or two. And their tempo, the same thing. It's going to be a mindset of our guys playing as hard as they can, and it's going to be very important that the next guy that goes in plays as hard as he can.
This is your first year here, but what is the key, the trick, whatever you want to call it, when you take a defense on the road? I mean, what is different that you will make a point about, et cetera?
Well, I think when you go on the road, the thing that's most important is that it's you guys. It's this group. It's not the going into the shoe and having to hold everybody there with you and all that. Now you're on your own. Now, boy, you better do it. And you got to really trust each other. And it's you're going into the alley a little bit. You're walking into that alley now, and we need everybody's back to us, and let's go.
Second row left. Steve?
Coach, watching more this past game than the Florida Atlantic game, it seemed every time there was a down and distance change, you're running 3 and 4 guys in and 3 or 4 guys are running out. It just seems like organized chaos, I think, for what you guys do, and you play 16, 18 players. I know it seems like when the game's on the line on defense. What goes into that organization to where the 3 guys that are coming in, the 3 guys know they're going out, and doesn't seem like there's any hiccups at all with what you guys were doing, and the execution was they didn't score. I mean, that was the result.
Well, it goes back again. When you have guys that have bought in, and everybody that wants to be a part of success, then you're going to have small little roles that you can do. And when you have those roles, you better make sure you're right on top of it. That being said, when a different personnel group is called out, you better be ready to go in there, and that backup better be ready to go in there also. And they've done a great job of that. And again, our coaches that coach the positions are on top of that also, where, okay, this is the personnel group that we want in, bang, they're in there. And that's a credit to them.
I'm noticing you got a couple guys who last year would have played about 80 or 90% of the snaps, and they're only playing about 50% of the snaps right now. Is there some ego massaging going on behind the scenes to say, the final result's going to be what we're all looking for, and don't worry about? You probably haven't heard any complaints after 2 weeks, but I mean, how do you handle that with a guy who's used to playing 90% of the snaps when the game's on the line?
Well, I think one, it's the gap between this guy and this guy is coming up, and that's with age. You know, it's an older football team, and the other part of it is I think they really trust each other in the fact that. I'll use Chase as an example. I'm Chase, and we all know that we want him going as hard as he can. I mean, run as hard as he can. But he also has to trust the fact that, Coach, I can't do that anymore. Put somebody in and give me a rest. Then after that rest happens and that guy goes in and plays as hard as he can, then Chase goes in and he plays even better. And that kind of trust with each other is what helps those guys do what they're doing.
Can you give any context to the talent on this defense with how long you have coached and with some of the guys, you guys have sort of unleashed them, it seems like, and they're playing fast and doing all the things you guys want them to do. But how good are these guys?
Well, like I said, I was really, really impressed when I walked in that weight room the very first day, just watching them train. We've had them now for spring practice, we've had them for camp, and we had them for 2 games. They have the opportunity to be as good as they want to be. And I mean that sincerely. They have the opportunity to be as what they want to be. And now it's up to them. Now every week we've got to be hungrier. Every week we've got to say, okay, this bar is way up here now. This bar is up here now. We got to keep fighting to try to get to that bar. And you know, you can't have a letdown. You got to be critical of yourself. You've got to come out every day and practice and go as hard as you can. You can't just practice one day, you know. And those are all the things I think that they bought into, and that's what they believe in.
And very specifically, Pete Werner is your number 1 Sam linebacker. He's played like 95 snaps in the first 2 games, according to 11 Warriors. And Brendan White is your number 1 bullet. He's played 34 snaps in the first 2 games. Is that how you expect this to continue, or again, do you expect things could change week to week in terms of matchups with the Sam linebacker and the bullet?
It's going to depend on who you're playing against. In other words, is this team a team that has 2 tight ends in the game a lot? Is this a type of team that you need a 245-pound linebacker as compared to a 215-pound athlete? You know, I mean, and not that Pete's not. I mean, it's that kind of thing. And when you're getting teams that go tempo and they're trying to get 100 and some plays on you, well, then you better have a guy that is really talented, that has worked really hard, be able to come in and tag him out. Or you're going to see what happens to a lot of teams is that kind of system just wears them down, and then they don't play as well as they could play.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we are going to open up the floor for Justin Fields. Far left, Lori.
Justin, after the FAU game, you said you were as sore as you've been in a long time. Week 2, are you still feeling sore? Things working themselves out?
I feel a little bit sore, but definitely not as sore as last week. So I feel good.
What's the difference? Is it you were hit less? Is it that you
I think-
recovered better? What's the difference?
Yeah, I think my body's just more like kind of getting used to it. So as the season goes on, I feel like I would just be less and less sore.
Front row middle, Joey from the Columbus Dispatch.
Justin, you've put up stats in your first 2 games that are pretty similar to Dwayne. Have you heard from him or talked with him much?
No, not really. I'm sure he's focused on his season, and I'm definitely focused on our team. So I haven't really talked to him much.
Front row right, Austin.
Justin, every time we've talked to you, you've kept the focus on how much more you think you can do, how much better you can get. But through 2 games, and Joey mentions the stats, has this gone about as well as you thought or better than you expected for the first 2 games?
I'm not really like focused on stats, to be honest. I just really focus on wins. So as long as we win, no matter if I throw the ball, if I have 0 completions or 0 yards, as long as we get the dub, I think that's all that matters.
There was a moment there, I think maybe it was in the 3rd quarter, where Ben Vick was getting after it with the Cincinnati guy, and you went and broke that up.
Yeah.
Do you consider that an important part of your leadership, taking control a little bit?
I mean, yeah, Coach Day just emphasized that the coaches all week just emphasize that they talk a lot of trash. So, I mean, there's no reason to talk trash to a team you're blowing out. So I just tried to get him away from him and just kind of avoid a flag in that situation.
Middle row, second row middle. Bruce?
Justin, Coach Day said you took a bad sack in the game on Saturday. Can you take us through what play he's talking about, and how do you decide when it's a good time to use your skill to get away from people and try to make something happen in a broken play situation? And how do you decide when it's time to maybe just go down and live for another play?
Yeah, I mean, well, when I took that sack, that just was dumb. I was just sitting back there way too long, but it was on towards midfield. It was a play action pass, and I just didn't see the guy coming. I was trying to, I was waiting on Ben and Austin to see if they can get open, but in that situation, you just have to throw it away. So that's definitely on me. The O-line did a good job that play blocking, and I had Forever back there. So I just got to get rid of the ball quicker.
With people, they talk about a quarterback's internal clock. It's just your second start, and I'm sure in high school you could probably do whatever you wanted to do against that level of competition. This is a little bit different. Do you have an internal clock? Do you think it needs to be adjusted a bit?
I mean, in that situation, I was out of the pocket, so my internal clock wasn't really like kind of going off. So I was out of the pocket, and really, I just have to see that guy coming. So he kind of just blindside hit me, and I just have to have better awareness and really just get the ball out faster.
Middle row left, second row, first row left. Nathan?
You get asked a lot of questions about your decision making in the passing game. How important or how much role do you feel like your decision making plays also in how well this team runs the ball, and how do you feel like you progressed from week 1 to week 2?
Wait, sorry, say that again.
Just your decision making. How much does it affect this running game as well, and how do you feel like you progressed week 1 to week 2?
I feel like the running game kind of opens up more because the defense kind of has to respect me running the ball also. So I just feel like that opens JK up more, and then when he has those big explosive plays, that will also open up the passing game. So just kind of all of those intangibles kind of complement each other.
Did you see things from week 1 that you feel like you did better week 2 as far as reading fronts or making better decisions in the zones? And
not really. I mean, the coaches do a great job and kind of just watching film and just letting us know what to expect come Saturday. So I really didn't feel like any different, to be honest with you.
Front row right. Tim?
Yeah, Justin, real quickly, did you watch any of the LSU-Texas game on Saturday night? And how entertaining was that as a quarterback watching other quarterbacks sling it?
I mean, I don't know those guys personally, but just seeing that, and I guess that's exciting. I guess I don't really know.
Yeah, I know. I was just trying to get an interaction from Number 2, I'm sure out of the corner of your eye you didn't see this, but when J.K. throws a block like he did on Saturday, I mean, what do you think it is you see that, and what does that do for you guys as a group going forward?
I mean, he told me before that play he got me, he has me, so just follow him. So I just trusted him, and he threw a great block on that play, and that's pretty much what let us score. So I definitely can trust JK, and I think he's one of the best blockers in terms of being a running back in the country. So.
Did you notice, was he more settled down in this game than he was the first week? I mean, what did you notice it was different about him?
Yeah, so in the first game, I think he missed a block or something like that, so he was pretty upset about that, but because it usually doesn't happen. But this game, he was definitely more settled and definitely more confident. So I think the more confident he gets, the better he'll play.
Right next door, Bill.
How different did it just feel for you in week 2 versus week 1, just the whole atmosphere? And what are your thoughts on going on the road for the first time?
I just felt more confident going into week 2. I mean, as I said before, I think the more confidence a player has, the better he'll play. And just going on the road week 2, I'm not going to try to treat it any differently. I'm still going to prepare the same way, and just play the same way and just try to play smart.
I know you're a confident guy, but is there anything that has surprised you about just kind of how seamlessly it has gone so far for you?
No, not really. I think I've done a great job preparing, so that's definitely paying off. So the hard work's paying off, and I think it's paying off for the whole team. We've worked really hard in the off season, so just seeing this come out on the field was great to see.
And last questions, front row left. Doug?
Justin, you faced your own defense all preseason. What have you thought of how they played for the first 2 weeks, and how would you describe the talent level on this defense?
Our defense is talented. It starts all up with Chase, so he's definitely, I think, the leader of the defense. And, I mean, we have talented guys everywhere, so going against them all off season, it definitely makes the game easier for me. So even the scout team, they give us a great look throughout the week. So just kind of getting those looks from the other guys across the ball just helps me a lot on Saturdays.
We know Coach Day has said a couple times like his favorite plays are when you throw the ball away.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of what was being asked before. Is there anything with you of like you have to tell Coach Day like, listen, I know I got to throw it away, I got to be smart, but I promise you a couple of these times when I hold it and try to make a play, it's going to pay off. Like that sometimes I am going to take a risk because it might lead to a huge touchdown.
Well, in those situations, you just have to know all of what's going on. You have to know the down and distance, kind of what the score is in the game, and just make the smartest decision and the best decision for the game. So if that's the smartest decision and we're up big, then you just have to throw it away and just move on to the next play. He says you can't win every play, so sometimes we have to live with 2nd and 10. So.
But if there's a time when the score and the situation is different and you guys need it, you can maybe take a little risk and make a play if you need it.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what I think I can do and what I think I'm capable of, but you just have to just kind of take all those factors and just be smart and just do what's best for the team.
Great. Justin, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Justin. This is so awesome. We've had 17, 17, and 17 questions consecutively. It's almost like you planned it. I care about stats. All right, we will open up the floor for wide receiver KJ Hill, front row right, Bill.
JJ, I want to ask you about Austin Mack, actually. He's had an up-and-down career. He wants to have a big senior year. What have you seen from him this year? And also, just can you just talk about what he has done off the field with Raz and some of that stuff?
Austin, he got more of a sense of urgency this year because, like this is last year, his last chance, I see he's been working hard every day, even in practices, not taking plays off. And off the field, he just involved with the community a lot, started the Raz thing. So, I feel like he's a well-known person around campus.
Second, front row right, Austin.
KJ, has anything that Justin Fields has done through these first 2 weeks surprised you guys?
Nah, not really. We seen it all training camp and in the spring, so it just finally coming to other people's eyes, I feel like.
I asked him about going to break up. Ben was getting into a little trash talk at one point in that second half. Is he, he seems to be comfortable taking some of that leadership already. I know that took Dwayne a little bit of time. How is he adjusting to that role?
He's still adjusted to it, but I think he's taking more on the role early because I feel like he's making plays and he's getting more confidence in being able to do that. And, he got our trust and O-line's trust, so we just following behind him.
Right next door, Tim.
Yeah, KJ, Coach Day has alluded to this a couple of times. Maybe there needs to be a little bit more attention to running those secondary routes when Justin kind of breaks the pocket and stuff. And how is that on the agenda this week?
We talked about it before the game versus Cincinnati. I think we did a better job at it. Just scramble rules. I know Chris caught one. Somebody else, I forgot. But, but we just got to keep practicing it. It's something we got to get used to because he's always keeping his eyes down the field. And plus, it's just more yards for the receiver.
Does this feel more like y'all are running more of 2017's offense? Or at least, the plays y'all featured than a year ago? Is it 2 games in? Does it feel like that?
Not really because we still got the similar plays that we run in last year. We just got more versatile with the running because Justin can run and JK back there, so that's a two-headed monster in the run game. So I feel like Coach Day's just using that more.
Second row left, Bill.
KJ, this is like a similar question, I guess. First 2 years of Coach Day running the offense, you guys got a lot out of shallow crosses and the mesh route stuff, and it just seems like so far there hasn't been as much of that. How much different is, I guess, like the route combination you guys are relying on right now for the first 2 games?
First 2 games, they wouldn't let us run those shallow crosses. They knew what had happened to them. Yeah, it's a lot of zoning off, and like when we get in those formations, you can see if they see me coming across the middle, they're gonna zone it off or try to get their hands on me because they know we did damage over the 2 years with the shallow crosses. So we still got the same offense. It's just people are prepared for those things, so we just adjusting to it.
Is it frustrating for you being the guy in the slot? Because that's easy money a lot of times for that guy in that position.
Oh yeah, it definitely is, but I just gotta find more money other ways.
To go back to 2 games in the opener early, there was a play where you looked like you were coming open and Justin underthrew you a little bit, and you did adjust, but it fell incomplete, and then it looked like on the sideline you guys had a brief conversation after that. Just what do you all talk about on a play like that as he still tries to learn about you and you're still trying to learn about him?
He just came to me and was like, "That's on me. I threw it short," but then again, I told him, "Nah, I got to catch that," you know. But we just had just communication on it because we done rep that play 1,000 times in training camp where he just led me and I ran right under it. But stuff happens in the game, you know. It's not gonna be perfect, so we just still working out the kinks.
6th row left, Jared.
Hey, KJ. The incident in the game Saturday with McDonald, kid from Cincinnati, who we came to learn had a seizure. A lot of people have noted in reviewing that play, your actions on that play, what you did and did not do. Can you go back to that play and recall what you saw and why you reacted the way you reacted?
Pre-snap, he was lined up man against me, so you know I'm staring at him to see like what I'm about to do, you know, make a plan, and I could just see his eyes rolling in the back of his head. So at first I thought he was like, you know, trying to intimidate me or something, do something, because you know people do that in football all the time. But when I seen him start shaking, I knew something was wrong, so I didn't even, you know, bother touching him or anything. And he had a seizure, so.
You obviously run up toward him, but you see immediately there's a problem, and you very clearly don't make contact with him. How did you then, I know you proceeded downfield, did you try to get somebody's attention, or what did you do then?
Nah, like, I just kept going with the play, but at the same time, I was a little shook because I seen him having a seizure. I know what a seizure looks like. So I just knew after the play immediately somebody needed to come to him. I was trying to get somebody's attention, but they got to him.
Front row left, Nathan.
You say I know what a seizure looks like. Is that something you've experienced somewhere else in your life?
Yeah, my grandma used to have seizures, so I knew exactly what it was.
Changing topics, what you saw from Garrett Wilson on the way he went up and made that play in the end zone for that touchdown catch, and just, I guess, what you've seen from him progressing this early in his career.
Being in week 2, I seen him playing faster, you know, week 1, and in training camp he still was thinking a lot, which is common for a freshman. So I feel like he just said in the meeting, he was like, yeah, I was playing faster because I knew what I was doing, and I could make plans on routes and stuff like that. So I feel like he's playing that after that catch, he's got more confidence, and you can look out for him because he's made big plays in training camp, and I feel like that was just one of many.
And final questions for KJ, 3rd row right, Rob.
KJ, you've been in this situation before the last 2 years. You guys are playing really well, then boom, Iowa, boom, Purdue happens. You've got Indiana coming up. What did you learn from those games going forward?
You know, things didn't go right in both of those games. One, we didn't score in the red zone, and we didn't score when the defense stopped them, and we need to go up on the score. So, I mean, I just feel like we just got to play football, you know. We went in there prepared. We went in there feeling great about the game. Stuff just didn't work out. So, I mean, we just take it one game at a time, study the opponent, and go out there and perform and execute.
You guys lose focus on the plan to win, or whatever that's called, or is it unexplainable?
It's really unexplainable because we prepare the same each week. I feel like it's just more on the execution side of it. We got to execute our plays, and if we don't, of course, you're going to end up with a L.
Great. KJ, thank you very much. Folks, we'll open up the floor for Brendan White. Far left, Lori.
Brendan, how much does the degree of difficulty go up when you're facing a left-handed quarterback, or does it?
I mean,
It definitely does, I guess, for when it comes to corners and stuff like that. But I would say for linebackers, not as much. I don't believe so.
And obviously, the defense has been so effective this year. How much of that is attributable to successful scout teamwork? And are you getting really good looks in practice?
Oh yeah, the offensive scout team is definitely doing a great job. Giving us those great looks. The offensive line's blocking very well. We have great scout team quarterbacks and running backs that are running the ball well, throwing the ball well. Receivers are running full routes and going full speed. So it's definitely helping us a lot when the game comes.
Fourth row left, Andy.
Yeah, so it seems like on a lot of the running plays this year, there's 4 or 5 hats always around the football, right? And last year, a lot of big plays happened when there was only one guy maybe left to make the tackle. What changed the mentality of the team?
I would say, we focus a lot in the offseason pursuit to the ball, having all 11 hats at the ball. And Coach Madison, Coach Hafley, and Coach Washington, and Coach Jay, they all definitely emphasize that every day, having all 11 hats to the ball. And, that's definitely helped now with limited big plays and everybody getting to the ball and getting the guy down with the ball. So it's definitely helping.
Front row right here, Austin.
Brennan, when we spent the whole offseason talking about the Bullet, we thought you were going to be out there all the time. That hasn't been the case through the first 2 weeks. Is that just the matchups, or have you not got to play as much as you thought?
I definitely think it comes with the scheme of what the offensive team has given us. My job right now is just to, when I go out there and I'm finally out there, to do my job and make plays for my team. And at the end of the day, if I'm playing a lot, if I'm not playing at all, I just want to get the win. That's all that matters to me. So.
It's been explained that you and Pete can just be interchangeable there. How much are you two bouncing ideas off each other, or tagging in and out? How does that work?
Pete's been playing this position since he's been here, so he knows the ins and outs of being a linebacker, and he helps me a lot. And so I'm learning a lot from Pete. And then when it comes to being a DB, I'm helping him a lot too. So we're definitely helping one another out, trying to make us both better athletes and better contributors to the team.
Second row right, Tony.
Brendan, what's your favorite aspect of this defense?
I would say we have more swagger to us. I think we have more confidence to us too. Allowing us to just be out there and be athletes and just play football, find the pigskin. And when we do that, you can see we have swagger, and we can see, we're stopping the run and we're making offenses pay.
When do you think that confidence clicked for you guys? Was it spring, summer, when?
I would definitely say the beginning of fall camp. We saw, guys were making a lot of plays. We had more confidence. We were shutting down the offense here and there. And so once guys had the confidence, started making plays, seeing how really good we could be, guys started coming along one another and having that swagger back.
Did that not happen last year in practice?
Not as much, just because I think we had to think too much when it came to defensive plays. But with the defensive coaching staff we have now, it's less simpler and it's more, easier to, just go out there and just play. Not a lot of thinking on the field.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, Brendan, when you look at Indiana, is there anything different about them compared to a year ago offensively? And just, I know you've probably watched a little bit of video on them to this point. And number two, what kind of challenge is the Michael Penix kid, the quarterback?
I heard a lot of good things about the quarterback. He can run. He's a great thrower. Every time we played Indiana since I've been here, it's always been a tough game. So, they're always going to give us their best shot, and we got to do the same here. So we got to, lock in and get ready for this week and, give us the best shot. At the end of the day, every team's going to give us their best shot. And
Yeah. Well, why is Indiana such a challenge for you guys? I mean, what is it about them offensively that's?
They're tough. Everyone wants to beat Ohio State, and I think that's every team. I think we get every team's, best matchup. And so with Indiana, they run the ball hard. They can pass. They have athletes just like we do. So they're going to come out and swing, and we're going to have to swing back harder.
Front row left, Doug.
You're talking about having swagger. You're talking about this scheme letting you guys play fast. When all those things are happening, then what do you think of the sort of the talent on this defense?
The talent is definitely there. We definitely have talent here. And, when the coaches allowed us to just play ball, the talent showed the past 2 games, I think. We definitely started limiting big plays. Unlike last year, we are limiting, missed tackles and stuff like that when it comes to pursuit to the ball. And so when you get an athlete that can go out there and just play ball, you'll allow them to, really be comfortable out there and make plays for the team.
So you're being very team first with your answers about your snaps right now. But a lot of fans thought you played great last year. You were the defensive MVP of the Rose Bowl. What does a player have to do, like you or anybody else in this situation, when you've played well, you've sort of proven yourself, and maybe, the snaps at this moment just aren't there? Is it automatic? Yes, it's fine, team first, or do you have to sort of talk yourself through it a little bit.
I mean, it's definitely frustrating sometimes, but at the end of the day, you gotta know why you're here, and you're here to win games. And whether I need to play or if I'm not playing, I'm still here to, help my brothers, win games and be there for them, And we always talk about like the brotherhood of trust, So if I'm worried about not playing, then I'm being selfish and not caring about the team, putting the team first. So in order for us to win, I can't be selfish. I gotta put the team first and respect the brotherhood and respect my plays and snaps.
And final questions, front row, middle, Joey.
Greg Madison was mentioning that your role could grow with the bullet role when you're playing more up-tempo spread team. Does Indiana seem to kind of fit that description to you?
I think they potentially could, but at the end of the day, I'm just gonna get ready for this week and keep doing what I've been doing the past 2 weeks. And hopefully, if I get out there, and I play. And if I don't, I'm gonna sit there and support.
Great. Brendan, thank you very much. I think we will have one more player. I think we will. We're going to open up questions for Pete Warner, linebacker from Indianapolis. And once he gets up here, we're going to open up with the second row left. Bill Landis from The Athletic.
Hey, Pete, what goes through your mind, or what were the conversations like when Coach Madison calls a blitz that rotates you to deep middle of the field and you're playing basically free safety?
Well, we've done it for a while now. We practiced it in the spring. Haven't really showcased it until obviously on Saturday, but it's kind of weird. It's a different feeling. I'm not used to dropping back in the middle of the field, especially on some times where I'm in the half, deep half. But it's different. It's a weird feeling. But I like it. It kind of brings me back to my freshman, sophomore year high school days, but kind of feel like I have some feel with that. Coaches obviously trust me with that, and we go from there, and we use that, and obviously it worked out for us.
You played DB a fair amount in high school, right?
Yes.
Like, I know you played linebacker here since you've been here, and I'm sure you feel most natural there now, but how much of that DB skill do you feel like you still have, and how much of that instinct maybe kicks back in when you're back there?
I feel like I have a little bit. I can't really tell now because of my footwork. It changed your footwork completely. You're used to taking your first steps back instead of forward now. But you have a little feel. Obviously, you're not kind of fluent as much as the DBs are here, obviously. But I do still have some feel for it, and I just continue to get better, especially when we practice these different calls as we go on.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Pete, you're doing a lot of like the bullet stuff the way it was described to us maybe coming into the season. Maybe I don't know if it's more than Sam or not, but do you consider yourself in your mind a bullet or the bullet, or do you still think of yourself as the Sam? I'm like, if you look at me, my definition as a player is a Sam. So I go by a Sam. When they call in the Sams, I go out on the field.
Okay.
Yeah. How is that role that you've played so far? How much are you enjoying that compared to a year ago? I think it fits me better. I think it fits me personally, like as my position, my athletic ability better. And I feel like just having a whole year under my belt last year, I feel like I'm personally better. My footwork's better, my eyes are better. And I feel like with this position, you need your footwork, you need your eyes, and that'll help you out a bunch. So I feel like, just my athletic ability kind of leads me to doing well at this position.
Second row right, Tony from the O-Zone.
Pete, what's your favorite aspect of this defense?
I just think that everybody running to the football, no big plays allowed, kind of makes me love this defense. Last year was just kind of frustrating. We'd get the 3rd and 5, we'd get ready to get off the field, and then there's a 25-yard gain. Or if it's 1st and 10, they get 25-yard gain, or then they're running down the field for a touchdown, and you're just like, well, what's going on? Just one little thing can lead to a big play. But now we kind of have a feel where we can, if everybody does their job, runs the football, then it's not gonna mess you up too bad, and everybody has a chance to kind of stop that.
How demoralizing is it, like giving up like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 8 when you're thinking you're going to get off the field, now you've got to go back out there again?
It's tough, but obviously we're trained. We have great coaches. We're trained to keep going. We're trained to, if you see that, we just next play. This is what they preach. So I continue to live by that, and just love to see another down.
Third row left, Dan from 11 Warriors.
Brendan White said he has learned from you as he's kind of adjusted to playing his bullet position and playing linebacker. What's it been like working with him on that this year, and how do you feel like you guys kind of complement each other?
Yeah, we just learned from each other. He's a great kid, great athlete. He's just, last year he kind of had a different position, so his footwork's
his footwork kind of changes. The way he uses his eyes this year is going to change as well. It's just a whole new position. It's kind of like switching from a DB to a linebacker, you'd say. So it's just taking a while to adjust, and now he's doing great. He had a great game last week. But, yeah, we kind of complement each other. I do some good things that he picks up on, and he does some great things that I can learn from. So we just, complement each other.
You've seen more playing time in him so far this year, but what's it like for you guys kind of knowing that every week, the way you're game planning, your roles could change a lot from one week to the next?
Yeah, we could, and we just kind of we know that. We just kind of do what Coach tells us to do. We're confident in both of each other's abilities, that whether he's out there or I'm out there, we're confident in our defensive scheme, that we're going to put the best person out there to do the job. So, again, we complement each other, and whatever Coach tells us to do, we're going to do that.
Front row right, Tim?
Yeah,
From
Pete.
Lettermen Row?
Yeah, Pete, you literally look like you're having fun playing the first couple. I mean, am I wrong about that? And number two, what has brought that along? Just more knowledge, more idea of where you fit in this scheme, et cetera? Just what's fostered that?
Yeah, I think my ability to have fun kind of generates from the other people's ability to have fun on the defense. When you see somebody make plays, or you see somebody, you really use their effort, their capability of making a play from running to the field to the next. If you see somebody make a great play, that kind of fires you up. And it fires each other's up. It fires up the coaches, which then takes you back to yourself. But I just feel like with a whole new different scheme, we're kind of producing better at a high level. So that just I think that is fun. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of just going with the flow and having some fun.
Yeah, exactly. You have a vantage point, though, too, when you watch video. We've talked about Chase Young, et cetera, but Devon Hamilton seems to be playing on another level, too, and maybe Jay Sean. I mean, what have you seen out of those guys in particular that has caught your eye?
Well, it's great playing playing behind those guys. I mean, they open up so many great things for us as a linebacker group. Without them, we couldn't really do much. But seeing improvements from you said Devon and Jay Sean, they're just great guys, and they see this defense. They're the leaders of this defense now, and they kind of set the standard for guys, younger guys on this defense to look ahead of. So yeah, they're playing a lot better. Again, they just set the standard for this defense.
Far left, Lori?
Pete, Jay Sean Cornell told us that he feels the expectation is that he's supposed to know what the other 10 players on the field are supposed to be doing on every single play.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that's just up front, or is that every member of the defense that's supposed to know all 10 of them?
Yeah, well, everybody doesn't really know everybody else's position.
Exaggerating?
I would say a little bit, yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't go out and play Jay Sean's position on every play. Although I kind of have a feel for what he's doing. I know what gap he's going to be in every single time. I know where the safeties are dropping, whether they're half, down the middle. I have a feel for it. But, yeah, I can't go and do what he does. I just know where guys are set on the field for the formation to go execute my job.
We got time for just a couple more. Front row right, Bill?
What does the defense need to do better?
We're just kind of climbing that ladder. We don't really, we just go with the scheme. We go with the call, and we kind of go ahead. So we listen to our coaches. But we need to do a lot of things better. We need to just improve on the things that we have done, just at a different level. Our defense right now is not good enough to do what we have in mind to do. So we need to look at our keys a little bit better, eliminate our MAs, missing assignments, just to further ahead have the best defense in the country.
And for you, being an Indy guy, is this game special?
Of course it is, yes. I think about it when I first got here. My first game ever was at IU. I played there. It was my first game ever. So I'm going back there. I have a bunch of family, a lot of family that will be at that game. And it's I grew up going to these games as a kid. We had season tickets, so it'll mean something to me. Not from a different perspective, obviously, but yeah, it's definitely.
Going there?
I wouldn't say that. I knew Kevin Wilson pretty well at that time, but I kind of made a select few, dimmed it down to like 5 schools, and Indiana wasn't one of those. They kind of recruited me a little bit later, and I wasn't really happy about that, but yeah, I wouldn't say so.
And final questions, front row left. Doug from Cleveland.com.
They were late on you?
They were, yeah, they were.
They were late to the
Well, I
workout?
think I had like an injury in high school. I think it was like a shoulder or hip injury. So, yeah, they were a little late. They were kind of skeptical with that, but obviously other schools kind of trusted in me, so kind of went ahead with that.
So when the new defensive staff came in and they started talking about this bullet thing or whatever, just new coaches, was there ever a time for you where you were like, I wonder how I fit into this defense, or I wonder how much I'm going to be able to play, or maybe we'll only have 2 linebackers on the field a bunch of the time?
A little bit. I wouldn't say so much. I just know that I trusted my coaches. They would put me in the best ability to make me play as well as I could, so I kind of trusted in them. But I didn't really know anything about the scheme. I was just knowing I was going to go out there and try to impress coaches and do my thing. So yeah, as far as bullet, I didn't really know anything about the bullet at that point. I just knew that I was going to give it all my all and show my capabilities.
And just to follow up on what Tim was asking, I mean, you're playing a ton. You guys are playing fast. Does this sort of feel like this is why I do this? This is why we work out in the winter. This is like why I love football.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and it goes back so far. It's all tied on a string. You right after that Rose Bowl game, you're off a week, and then you go straight into workouts, and then workouts carry obviously all the way until the end of the summer. Camp starts, and then you're starting the season. So. Yeah, everything ties together, and yeah, I truly do think it all has a purpose for everything. Obviously, the coaches preach that, so yeah, I agree.
Great. Pete, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody want KJ Hill's gum?
Ooh, yeah. Put it on eBay.
Don't do it, Jerry. He'll do it. Hey, gum's gum, Jerry.